Hello. Welcome
Hello.
to the True Conscious Couple podcast. I am Tiffany Lancaster.
And I'm Brad Lancaster. We are a blended family. When we got together, I had 4 kids, Tiffany had 3, and we've had 1 together.
We're also a couple that runs a business together.
And so we talk about those things. We talk about our journey of self-discovery, of self-improvement.
We talk about the struggles of blended families. We talk about the struggles of business. And we talk about the struggles of doing inner work.
And we also talk about the joy, the peace, the love that comes along with all of that.
And what makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, so come along for the ride.
Hope you enjoy.
This is episode 20. Thank you for coming along. If you've listened to all 19 up till now, wow, thank you so much. Today we've been going back and forth on a couple things that we want to talk about, and so I think we should definitely talk on the purpose of relationship, and then anything else that comes up. As we've been posting these and talking to other people and seeing what the feedback is, and not just feedback, but like where we find our own passion. You know, we're real estate people by day, but our real passion, the thing we really get off talking about, is relationship, and having a great relationship. So one of our mentors, the yoga couple, they took us through a 13-part course, and the first thing they went over was the purpose of relationship.
Yeah, relationship has always been a big thing for us, and for anybody who's been through a divorce. Divorce can be such an ugly, taxing thing, and I think that that's why we are so passionate about making sure that our relationship is good.
Yeah.
Making sure that our relationship is a priority, because neither of us want to experience that again. You know, we decided when we first got together that we wanted to make our relationship number one priority, and then everything else would kind of fall in place after that.
Yeah, and because the opposite of like all the love and all the joy and all the peace is what you talked about, like what happens typically in divorce. Like somebody told us when, I don't know if it was you that told me or I told you, somebody had told us that besides death, the most traumatic thing that people go through, one of the most traumatic things that people go through is the end of a relationship, a committed relationship, or divorce. And it can be for kids too.
Right.
Like, that's not trying to minimize abuse or anything like that. Those are terribly traumatic things. But it's a very common thing, divorce and relationship breakup. And so,
well, when you have kids in the picture, it's very traumatic for kids. And as we've started posting a lot of our content on social media, I've noticed that a lot of people get triggered by some of the content we put out about how to make a step family successful. I've gotten a lot of people say, well, how about you don't get divorced in the first place and you make your relationship the priority? And actually, that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Right.
This isn't just for second marriages, though. For blended families, there's a different dynamic that people don't know how to navigate. So we are sharing tools that we've used that have been super helpful for us to navigate that dynamic. But of course, the first priority is just making sure that, you know, if you can save your relationship at all, you really should.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest advice you and I give all of our friends that come to us talking about like their relationship struggles. Whether you're in your first marriage, second marriage, third marriage, whatever, that is the most important relationship you can focus on and you can save right then. I don't believe that divorce is not an easy way out. No. And you and I have both heard that. Well, you took the easy way out. It was not easy. And it was neither one of us started out. Nobody starts a relationship out getting married thinking, well, let's see, in 15 years, I'm going to have this to the point that it's so broken that the only way to move forward is apart.
Right.
Nobody starts that way. Even though by the time you get there, most people that I know that have gotten to divorce, that is really, for the most part, I mean, I do see people get divorced and this is judgmental and I hate even saying it, but like they kind of, I have seen people quit early when they could have probably kept working at it, but maybe not. I mean,
Yeah, we don't know what other people are dealing with, but
yeah, you really never do.
but it is, to have any good relationship, it does take a level of commitment from both people. And that's the tricky thing, is sometimes you don't always have control over what the other person does. And in order to have a great relationship, it's going to take hard work from both sides digging in and doing the inner work that's hard to do. It's hard to, dive in and look at all of your shadows and everything that's toxic in the relationship. And it requires each party to take accountability for their own crap and own it, look at it, acknowledge it, and change it. Commit to changing it, commit to being better, commit to making the other person your priority and making them feel loved and being their biggest fan no matter what. It's a really hard thing to do, but at the end of the day, that's what's required.
Yeah. Well, should we talk about how this has played out for us?
Sure.
And how we've learned it? Because I was thinking about that. Like when people just talk about theories all the time, it gets very boring very quickly. And because theories are just theories. So I thought we should dive into our story a little bit, where purpose of relationship is concerned.
Okay.
You said right off the bat, like one of the first things we determined is that our relationship was going to be a top priority. How did we get there? Why did we decide that? Well, I came from a relationship where I had I'd been duplicitous. I had lied to my former wife. I had cheated on her. I had concealed financial troubles from her. I had concealed parts of my true identity, who I really was, and didn't feel for whatever reason, I didn't feel safe to show who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent 15 years pretending to be one thing, pretending to be a good Mormon dad who showed up and did all of his duties. But then I lied about a lot of that.
And you say for some reason, but you've since discovered what the reason is.
Yeah.
So that's where the real work is. And
yeah.
So let's go into that.
Okay. Yeah. So, but I didn't know that when we got together.
Right.
When we got together, I was at this point, and this is where I think true growth can start.
Right.
And not that I was that I've been perfect ever since that point. Far from it. I have messed up more times than I can count since you and I have been together. I've never been unfaithful, but I've definitely lied to you. I've definitely repeated some other.
They've shown up in different ways.
Mm-hmm. But I'm proud to say, I've been 100% faithful to you from a relationship standpoint. So I learned that one thing. But I came to you. Well, when we met, I was at this point of self-loathing. I just really didn't like myself, and I figured that the only way I could go forward, because I determined that killing myself wasn't an option, although I had to go through a lot of thought to get there. But the only way I could move forward is to just get radically honest, or what I considered radically honest about what I had done. So that's how we started off. I started off by just sharing with you all of my baggage. I was just basically I feel like I was just barfing on you all the time.
But I saw that as, so my background, I was in a relationship that started out great. We were young. We got married super young. I was young, still in high school, actually, when I got married. And he joined the military. He was a few years older than me. And we moved actually to North Carolina, because he was active duty Army, and had my first son. He was deployed to the Iraqi war in 2003. Served I think it was a 17-month tour. and came back, and he had some issues before that. But he was not the same person when he came back. And as much as I tried to get him to go get the help that he needed, he wasn't willing to do that. And he wasn't willing to own any of his shadows, any of his demons, any of the things that he was also operating from a place of guilt and shame. But he wasn't ready to take accountability for any of it. And I was convinced that, that was the first step in actually healing it all. He had to acknowledge it and own it and tell me what he was going to do to get better. And he wasn't willing to do that. So I knew that for the safety of not only myself, but my kids, I needed to get out of that relationship. And when I met Brad, and he was also...
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
That you rarely mention in this story every time you tell it? He was abusive.
Yeah.
He was abusive, physically, verbally, emotionally, every way possible.
Yeah, he was. I still deal with not excusing that, but first of all, I don't like being a victim.
Right.
And
How many times had you called the police before you left him?
It had been a few.
The police knew your address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a thing. And, I dealt with for a really long time the guilt of, he went and sacrificed and served our country. And so I felt like my duty as his wife was to stand by his side and try to help him through that. But I knew there had to be a breaking point. And my breaking point was like, if he didn't want the help, if he didn't want to be healed, I couldn't do it for him. And so, and the other part of that is like, I don't like telling the story like I'm the victim, because there was something that I couldn't have learned from every situation.
Yeah.
But Brad's right that was a part of it.
That's part of it. Yeah.
So what attracted me to Brad, even though like when I met him, I could tell he was definitely dealing with some suffering. He was lonely. He was not in a good place in his life. And I was going through really hard stuff as well. His divorce was already final. Mine was like I had left the house, but my divorce was a little more drug out because he was fighting me on it. But Brad and I started talking. Really, it started out just kind of comparing war stories about the divorce that we were both going through, both of our divorces. And I remember the first time I met Brad, we were actually working at a bar together. I was working 2 jobs while I was married. I was doing online chat for an e-commerce company Monday through Thursday. And then Friday through Sunday, I was working as a bartender. I was working my butt off, and I had little kids at home. Anyway, one of the first conversations I had with Brad, I walked up to him and I said, so Brad, I hear that your divorce story is almost as bad as mine. And he said something like, probably worse, And I said, so what's your story? Well, why are you getting divorced? And I remember he looked at me and said, because I cheated on my wife and lost a bunch of money and didn't tell her about it, lied to her about it. And I was kind of shocked because I thought it was pretty crazy that he was so forthcoming and so willing to just, like, he didn't blame her. He didn't say, oh, because my wife is a bitch, or, he didn't put any of it on her. He just accepted all of it and was just, here it is, take it or leave it. It was me. And it just blew me away. And so in the back of my head, I remember thinking, is he trying to drive me off? And is it weird that, I'm kind of thinking, I think that is incredibly brave for him to just own that. And if he's trying to push me away, it's kind of doing the opposite. So I really wasn't sure how to take it. But
but that's the foundation that we came to.
yeah.
And then romance started happening. We started flirting with each other. Your divorce eventually happened. We moved in together and got married.
We built this foundation of being radically honest with each other. Like it almost became a game of what's the deepest, darkest secret? Like, what skeleton can I pull out of the closet and lay out for you? Is there going to be anything that's going to scare you away?
Yeah. Yeah. And so we did that. So we shared all of our deep, dark secrets, and we don't need to get into those now. But, so we laid this foundation of trust with each other. And I think that's really what it was. So when we talk about the purpose of relationship, we didn't know it at the time, but what we were both engaged in was personal growth. Mm-hmm. We were doing it in different ways than maybe what most mentors would guide you through. Personal growth mentors. In fact, it's not how I would recommend. You can definitely do it faster, and we've done it. Yeah, it's taken us a long time to figure out.
Well, I think that the one thing I would say, there's been a couple core things. Number one is that we were always super honest with each other. And number two, we always showed up with love. We never made the other person, or at least we worked really hard at not making the other person feel shame, degrading them. Like we never did that. We never said mean things to each other. There was always a level of respect. Like, I don't know how else to say it other than we respected the fact that we were both human. Yeah. And we respected the intentions. We always looked at the intentions of the other person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was something that is like a key. It's one of the things that we talk about in our commitments to each other, is that we'll always speak with respect. I don't think that can be understated, the importance of being respectful to each other. For some reason and I've definitely not been perfect at it, because there's been a couple times in our relationship that I have said things that I would like to take back that were mean, but only a couple times. And I can understand why I did them. But we've been practicing this. Well, one of the things that one of our mentors talk about is in coming up with the purpose of your relationship is understanding the yoga of relationships. Mm-hmm. And we've kind of toyed with that for a while, and now we're fully into it, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean for you? Like, as you think about the yoga of relationships? The yoga of especially of an intimate relationship, like what most people that are listening to probably are interested in.
The yoga of relationships is actually a real form of enlightenment, achieving enlightenment. And the theory, I guess the modality or whatever you want to call it, is this idea, and I think we've talked about it on the podcast before, but ultimately it is engaging in a partnership, a life partnership, where your partner is going to mirror for you all of your shadow parts, all of the shadow parts of you, which is really all of your opportunity for growth. Mm-hmm. And so it's mirroring back to you all the work that needs to be done, all the inner work within you that's needed so that you can become the best version of yourself. And it's really a difficult thing, because nobody likes looking at all those deep, dark shadow parts of yourself, and recognizing all the work that still needs to be done for you to become and step into that best version of who you are.
Yeah, beautifully said. What came to mind as you were talking is the yoga of relationships. Yoga itself is really a journey of easing suffering. That's really one of the highest purposes of yoga, of a yoga practice, right? At least as taught by some of the masters. So a yogi, and their purpose is to ease suffering, and not to eliminate it, but to ease it. And you do that through integration of the mind, the body, the spirit, right? This, and bringing it all in together. It's not a separation. It's looking at this experience, this life experience, as a true conscious being, right? Or at least a true conscious being, as far as I understand it, understanding your place, who you really are. I am not this person with the body. I am the observer of this experience. I am the thing that can observe it. And so,
it's the process of not having to endure the suffering, because this experience, you are just the observer of everything that's being projected in front of you. You're not your mind. You're not your body.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps, babe. Because every time I think, like, I just said that, and what I witnessed, just so you know, is like you and I are sitting here looking at each other, and you're talking about this mirroring that happens. Nobody can trigger me like you.
Yeah.
Nobody can get to me like you can. Conversely, nobody can make me feel loved like you can.
That's so true.
I've never felt more joy. I've never felt more peace. And so the yoga of relationships really is, it's what Trenton reminded us before we started. It is the most beautiful path to enlightenment that humans can experience.
Well, and they say it's one of the quickest.
And the quickest.
One of the quickest ways, because it's a constant. It's constantly happening every single day.
Well, can I share how
opportunities
like how
are
it showed up for me today?
Yeah, sure.
And look, this isn't, I don't mean to say that our relationship is just a thing of Tiffany pointing out my opportunities for growth. It happens that way a lot. And I would say Tiffany is, from a spiritual standpoint, she began this journey before me. And at one point in our relationship, like I know a few years ago, she was at a point where she said, look, I'm going on this journey of consciousness, of spiritual growth, and you can come along or not. But if I continue on this path, we're going to separate. And that's so, like, if that's what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. I remember you saying that to me. We were sitting drinking coffee. And I remember thinking, holy cow, that is confidence. Like, because it wasn't a threat. It wasn't like an ultimatum that, hey, you better get your shit together or we're done. That's not what it was. It was just, this is just a natural consequence. Anyway, what I was going to share is this morning. Are you okay with me sharing?
Sure.
Like what we experienced this morning?
I don't know exactly what you're going to share, but I'm okay.
Judgment.
With it. Okay.
The theme of judgment.
Okay.
Because this is how it showed up for me this morning. We had a beautiful moment together. We had a practice where we breathed together, and then we looked into each other's eyes while holding each other and shared all the beauty and genius that we see in each other. And that is, like, by the way, that's a great practice. And we've been taught that a couple different times. And when we engage in that, like, whatever trigger is going on, man, defenses go down and the ego is pretty much put aside. And in that spirit, you said something to me. You said, hey, I need you to know I've been seeing a lot of judgment come up. I've been seeing you get into judgment, a lot of other people. And a couple days previously, I had been feeling it myself. Like, everybody I looked at, it seemed like I was just judging people, like, oh, they're stupid. Oh, they're not good. Oh, that thing is stupid. And, like, I was getting sick of hearing this voice in my head. I was like, man, what the hell is going on with me? Why am I judging so much? And you were able to point that out in a loving way. And what you said was, Brad, if this is where you're going to be at, it's going to stop us. Like, it'll slow you down. It'll slow us down, because it does. Mm-hmm. Like, when you're in judgment, all you can do is judge.
Well, it's what you're projecting out into the world. And so it's what the universe is giving back to you. So if you're putting it out there, you're getting it back. That's what karma is. It's literally, it's just what you're putting out.
Yeah. So, so what this purpose of a relationship did for me this morning is you were able to share that with me, and I was able to acknowledge it because I literally had the conscious thought, man, I am in judgment. I am in this mode. I don't know why, but I hadn't said it out loud. Mm-hmm. At least I don't think I had. Had I said, no. I hadn't said anything to you about it. But I was seeing it come up, and I wasn't liking it, but I wasn't changing it. But you saying it, and saying it after we had been in this simple practice.
Well, that's the key. And I want to talk about that for a second, because it's something that I'm still learning myself and trying to become better at. And it's actually been a couple different relationship coaches that we've worked with that talks about, I think this is especially important for the women out there. So this is to all of you women out there.
I love it.
If you're going to, I hate even saying coach, but if you need to talk,
shine light. How about that? If
you need to shine light on something, if you have something that you need to bring to your partner's attention, and it's going to be a hard topic, something that's hard to talk about, that they might get triggered by, or might have an ego flare over. You have to get into that place first. You have to get into a space where you're first getting them, you're getting them in their heart space is really what you're doing, so that they can be receptive to what it is you're about to talk to them about. And it's such a crucial thing, because when I don't do that, it's a nightmare. Like I'm never successful in being able to get you to hear me when I don't take the time to do this. And really, all it requires is to show appreciation. I think that's the quickest way. Just tell them all of the things that you're grateful for, all of the things that they're doing amazing.
Well, the other thing you did even before that, this is a really simple practice that couples like, and we do it often, but embrace each other or hold hands.
Well, we did the, what's it called? We learned it in Hawaii. Do you remember?
Yeah, I can't remember what the practice is, but it's basically, it's like it's an exchange of prana, right?
So basically you stand with your third eye, forehead to forehead, touching, and eyes closed, and you sync your breath. But so
you sync your breath in a way so that as she inhales, I exhale. And as I inhale, she exhales. So we're literally in this exchange of prana, or of life force energy, of breath, if you don't want to call it prana. We're just exchanging breath and energy with each other.
So you don't have to do this exact thing every time, but it just so happened that I had this thing I wanted to talk to Brad about, but I knew I had to wait for the right moment to bring it up. And so, and we did this before getting ready this morning. And I knew I wanted to talk to him about it.
It's a beautiful practice. Like when we do it, when we're dealing with the conflict of not being on the same page, if we take a moment to do this,
it's really, really powerful.
Really powerful. And do it for 3 breaths, 5 breaths, 10 breaths, however many it takes to start to feel. As a man, you want to feel your shoulders relax. You want to feel your heart start to open up, because I literally feel when we do this, I feel my heart start to open up, and I feel the energy start to center in my chest center.
That's getting you into your heart.
My heart.
And it's a good practice to do with your kids too.
Great practice to do with your kids. You feel so safe.
Take a minute or 2 or 3, whatever, to do this, and it's powerful. So, but you don't have to take it to that level every time and do that every time you need to have a conversation. But even if you can just take 3 to 5 minutes to let them know all of the things that you appreciate about them, and try to get specific, like the specific things that you've done. This morning, I wanted to focus on the deals that the income that you've generated for our family and the specific things that you've done for our business, because I've been so critical of our business because we're in a growth mode right now. And I've got all of these ideas and things that I think we need to be doing. And so sometimes I can get into a place where I'm just always looking at what we need to be doing rather than appreciating what we are doing, and specifically what you're doing. And so I felt like,
Man, it worked too.
yeah, it's
like, and the beauty is, it was so sincere. I could see it looking in your eyes. And this is the other thing that I didn't tell you this morning. Last night, as I was out walking, I was thinking, man, what I would give to just hear Tiff say, Brad, great job on X deal. Great job on that. Great job on this other one. That was amazing how you did that. I was thinking that last night, and I thought, why am I so needy? Why can't I just, like, the reward is in the process. I don't need a pat on the back.
Well, I don't know what it is. There's something to it. There's this realization that men just really need to feel appreciated. They need to feel like the hero from their woman. They just need to feel that. And I can forget that. I'm not perfect, but when I'm reminded of it, I try to be intentional about it. Yeah. Because that's what's going to get us those breakthroughs.
And it's amazing what it does. So you combine breath and then these words. And by the way, I'm a big words guy. Like I love words. And by the way, if your man isn't a words guy, like if he's a physical touch, make sure you're engaging in physical touch while doing this. And but I know most men love to know and love to hear, hey, you're doing a great job. And here's how.
Yeah. So then when you come to them with the issue, and guys, like, that's the other thing, you know, when your woman comes to you with something, they're going to be more open to it anyway. But again, we were just talking about how it does take both people. Like, it never works if it's a one-way street. If there's one person in the relationship that's always giving, that's always trying to make sure that the other partner's needs are met, and then that partner's not doing the same. Yeah. That's just not going to work. That's toxic.
Yeah. And most of the time, what in intimate relationships, the feminine is needing to feel supported, needing to feel safe, needing to feel just that, right? Supported, safe, even protected. But that the masculine has their back.
Yeah.
Right. There's a reason I chose to wear a red t-shirt today. It's because I felt the need to feel rooted today, and to remind you that I'm rooted. I'm firm. I'm solid.
Yeah.
And red is the color of the root chakra, and so I wanted to deliver that message to myself and to you.
I like it.
So, in that spirit, and you shared these beautiful words with me, and by the way, it automatically, like, reminded me to share the same thing with you. How grateful I am, and for all that you've done, the specific things that you do around our business, around our family. And
the beautiful thing about this is whenever you can focus on gratitude, it doesn't matter what the gratitude, what the topic is, what area of your life, that it is. If you're focusing on the gratitude of your relationship, of your partnership, of your business, of whatever, home, that is what the universe is going to give you more of. Well, that is what you're aligning with. That this is the whole idea of karma. It's not just some folklore thing. It's literally an energy match, is all that karma is. And so when you can create this practice of focusing on gratitude and choosing gratitude, you suddenly are looking through a completely different set of lenses at your relationship, at your business. And it can be difficult because it's this balance of still striving for more, right? Like, there's obviously still opportunities to get better, but If you're approaching it from a place of lack, you're just going to keep seeing lack. You're going to keep seeing lack in your relationship. You're going to keep seeing lack in your business and whatever it is where you're focusing, that's what you're going to see more of. But if you can shift it and start focusing on the positive and the gratitude and everything that is happening, you can always find something to be grateful for, even if it's, the water coming out of the faucet when you turn it on.
The heat coming out of your furnace, the whatever it is.
The ability to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. What came to me as you were saying that, and what I was reminded of is it immediately drives fear from your existence, because gratitude and fear they can't be together. It's impossible. Gratitude trumps fear all the time. Like, it just absolutely drives it out. And fear is that thing that the ego likes to latch onto and say, "Oh, you're scared. Just stay in fear. Like, protect yourself. Protect yourself with shame. Protect yourself with guilt. Protect yourself with judgment. Protect yourself with grief, with hopelessness, with anger, with pride." All these lower themes of consciousness. And I was actually wondering, because my baseline for so long has been shame and blame. Like, that was where when my ego would really get fired up, that's where I'd go to. And now I've kind of progressed to this thing where I find myself in judgment of others. Okay, so here's the cool thing about this. So you pointed this out to me, and I was able to acknowledge it and say, I have actually seen it myself, and I don't like it. And I know the tool to release it, because I want to progress through it.
Yeah.
And tool for me is, number one, getting into a safe place, getting into with a simple meditation, do it through breathing. I then took some time to read about judgment and guilt. And my textbook for that is The Inner Work. Do you mind if I share the book, The Inner Work? This is the Inner Work book, written by Matt and Ash, two of our coaches. And then I went to the chapter on judgment and just read what judgment is, how it shows up, what it's saying to me. And then they, in every chapter, when they talk about the themes of consciousness, they end it with a new narrative, which is basically affirmations that you can read, write, say over and over again to be able to move through that theme of consciousness. And so that's what I did. And I told you, this is what I'm going to do. And when I did it, after showering, I saw I saw you be proud of me again. And I saw you look at me with love and with respect and confidence, I guess. Because
what you did is the inner work. You took the time, because that's really all that's required. And it's not easy, but it's simple. Sitting with it, meditating, diving into it, acknowledging that you want to change it, and then writing the new narrative, rewiring your brain to say, that's not true. And I know none of that's true. And this is what the new story is. This is what the real story is. And this is what I'm going to choose to believe from here on out. And I'm not believing those old stories anymore. And once you decide to do that, and once you put the work in to do that, it can shift in an instant. It can happen so quick.
Yeah, that's right. And you say this to me often, actually, that like all it takes is that I actually do the inner work. And sometimes I get frustrated with that. I've gotten frustrated with that. I'm like, oh man, what do you mean do the inner work? Man, I'm freaking meditating and I do. But sometimes I'm just meditating to meditate, like just watching the stillness. But the real inner work is when we see these triggers come up and it's time to rewrite a story, time to create new patterns, and then do things intentionally to create new patterns. You do that through affirmation, through chants, through journaling, through acknowledging, and that's where like the yoga of relationships come in also, is where, hey partner, I'm falling short on this and I'm going to grow. I'm responsible for my growth. I appreciate you for helping me see this, rather than blaming the other partner. Like, I'm experiencing this discomfort because of you. And that's the opposite of what a conscious couple does. A conscious couple recognizes and gets grateful that the other partner is there to help them see the opportunities for growth, to help them see their struggles.
Well, and that's why I think it's so important that you approach it from that place of respect and true love. Like, if you're really loving somebody, you want the best for them. You're there to help them become their best. That has to be the underlying intention all the time. You have to first come from love. You both have to trust each other.
Yeah.
You have to have proven yourself. You have to truly want the best for the other person. That's the caveat in all of it. Like, you can't just act like you want the best for them. You have to show that you want the best for them. And you're the safe place for them, where you're saying, I know what all your shadows are. I see all of your shortcomings, but I also know who the highest version of you is, and I'm going to help you get there. I'm going to support you in that. I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader through all of it, and we're going to do this together. We're making this agreement to be completely vulnerable, to show exactly who we are to the other person, all of it. All of the shadows, all of the fears, all of it. You get really, really vulnerable, and you trust that they're going to hold you up.
Yeah.
They're going to see you through it all.
Yeah. And it can be scary.
It's really scary.
It's scary. And, we're just talking about like this issue of judgment. There are bigger things that couples have to deal with, addiction, abuse, other scars that we all bring to the table. And it doesn't matter what it is. Being able to tell the other, this is right where I'm at. This is what I'm dealing with right now. I think I shared this last time we went over this, is this idea of vulnerable presence.
Yeah.
And it's something that was just introduced to me by one of our coaches and by one of our mentors. And I've been practicing it, and I don't know how you've been receiving it. Sometimes I do good with it and sometimes not. But when I'm feeling triggered, when I'm feeling this thing, lately it's been judgment. I've been triggered into judgment. Being able to breathe and say, hey, I'm feeling scared right now. I've been put into a spot where my traumas are standing out for me. I'm feeling judged. I'm scared. I'm worried. And really what it is I'm worried. For me lately, I'm worried about our business. I'm worried about our production. I'm worried about our cash flow. And I'm worried that I'm going to let you down. Because that's like the biggest thing that I've been worried about lately.
Yeah.
And when I'm able to just tell you that, instead of saying, coming at you with, why do you expect me to be perfect? Or I'm not perfect. Or, well, what about you? What have you done? Or, the fighting words. Instead, just saying, man, I'm scared, and I don't know if I have what it takes right now to get through this struggle. Then I watch you say, oh, I know you do.
Yeah.
I'm not worried at all. Or I'm worried, but I have faith. I have trust in you, and I have faith and trust in this.
Or we can just get back down to, because a lot of times what fear is just these stories, it's just, what it is believing in the worst outcome, the worst case scenario, rather than believing in the best case scenario. And sometimes we're not even seeing what's there. And, we have lots of opportunities sitting on the table right in front of us right now. And we were just, we just sat down and looked at all the opportunity that we have right in front of us. But if we're dealing in fear, we're not seeing it because we're focused again on what we don't have, on the lack, which can be scary. And so when you're vulnerable with that, then we can just say, okay, we can breathe and say, okay, well, what's the truth?
Yeah. What's the truth? Yeah. That definition that you just shared, fear is having more faith in the worst case scenario. We heard that recently. And I don't know who originally said that, but like, that's a great definition of fear because we get to choose what we're going to have faith in. Right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, that faith over fear idea is real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah. Well, it's a, by the way, this is like one of the key elements in determining whether or not you have a relationship that we call interdependent, where we're both able to go down our independent paths, right? Of personal growth, of development, even of like getting through life. It's an acknowledgement that we've made this choice that we're going to do it together, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that we had written down was recognizing codependency versus interdependency.
Well, there's three types of relationships. The first is the self-oriented relationship. And these are the relationships where it's the relationship where there's probably been some trauma with relationship before and depending on other people. And so this is where someone's approaching a relationship like, I'm going to do my own thing. You're going to do your own thing. I just need you to stay out of my way. Just don't get in my way too much. And if you don't, then everything's going to be great. But if you start getting in my way too much, then something's wrong with this relationship and we're going to have to end it. Typically, they pay their own portion of the bills or, may have separate bank accounts. They don't really intertwine any parts of their relationship. It's not like a true partnership, life partnership.
Well, they each have their own interests. They each have their own finances, their own families even sometimes.
Yeah.
Like they're very slow to bring children from other relationships. And this isn't judgment, by the way. This is just acknowledging.
It's just a definition.
A definition. These are relationships. And for some people, these work. And
there's a tendency to lack that deep passion, that deep sense of.
That's what typically is missing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we hear it from
feeling that strong sense of connection and that deep fullness that in my opinion makes a relationship worthwhile.
Yeah. It's the spark, it's the magic,
and
it's the mystery too. Like I'm still truly mystified by you. And like, I still want to know more about you. I still like just now when you were talking about like really putting the other partner's needs ahead of your own and watching them grow and seeing them become their fullest. As you were saying that, I was taking that as an invitation to, do I really do that? Do I really put Tiffany's needs above mine? Do I really know what her best self looks like? That's what I want to see. That's what I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And can I answer that I definitively know what that is? No, but I want to see it. And that's what I want to be a part of. And so like, I honestly got turned on while I'm sitting here listening to you. Cause I'm like, oh man, there's still something more after 12 years. And I'm excited to see what that is. But without this, without the vulnerability that we share, that doesn't exist.
No.
Okay. So that's.
And it does spill over. It spills over into your sex life.
Yeah.
Because when you have this deep of a connection with another human being, there is that next level of
intimacy, connection,
and connection. I don't know how else to
an intimate
define it.
Connection. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's fireworks. It's ineffable.
And then, do you want to go into describing what a codependent relationship looks like?
Well, from my understanding, a codependent relationship is one where the way I heard it explained is this idea that I'm not okay if you're not okay, and I can only be okay if you're okay.
Yeah.
And so it's this idea that my state of happiness, sadness, whatever, is completely dependent upon my partner's ability to be happy or sad. If they're sad, I'm sad. If they're happy, I'm happy. And and by the way, if I'm sad, if I've decided that I'm going to be sad, they need to be sad as well.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people probably innately understand what a relationship like this looks like. But another thing that I think about is it's that needy.
Oh yeah, there's that part too. Yeah, there's this like inability to stand on your own 2 feet.
Right.
Yeah, so it shows up a lot of times where I don't mean like it's not about a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, but it can present itself in that way. And I'm not saying all relationships like that are, but it can present itself if there's not this equal exchange of commitment, of like sharing of everything.
Yeah.
Because there was a while before I went to jail where you were the primary breadwinner and I was primarily staying at home.
Yeah.
But we still maintained our partnership. Like we were still like working on everything together.
Well, the term like a kept woman a lot of times could be a codependent relationship because this woman typically, whether it's a woman or a man, they tend to feel like they couldn't make it on their own.
Right. Yeah. Sugar daddy, sugar mama, whatever, where somebody else is providing like everything and not just providing, but like not even including you in the decisions.
Yeah.
Like something big is happening at work and they're not talking to you about it.
Yeah.
They take a job transfer and they say, well, I got a promotion. I'm going.
Well, and it's emotional too, though. Like it shows up
too
with emotional like codependencies.
Yeah. So that's a codependent relationship.
Whereas an interdependent relationship is two completely full, like their cup is full, independent of each other, and they are on this journey together. Basically, they're both bringing 100%, right? They're both bringing their all and working together, and that's a healthy, fulfilling relationship.
Yeah, the way this shows up physically, like from a root standpoint, is financially. There's full financial disclosure. Financial decisions happen together. I heard somebody this last week say that there's one person that has the veto power over it, and that may or may not work for you. I've been thinking about that. I don't know how I feel about that because I don't know that you or I have full veto power. I said you did, but I don't know if that's true because we basically have this idea with finances that if we're not both on board, we don't do it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. It's part of what when we did our vow renewal, we wrote our commitments to each other. And that was one of our commitments, that we are on the same page where finances are concerned. It's not necessarily that like we can't make financial decisions without each other, but like we talk about finances with each other. That's like one of the biggest in any marriage or partnership or relationship. Finances are the number one problem a lot of times. It's one of the biggest causes for divorce, finances. So financial like disclosure and communication and feeling like both partners are equally, their feelings are considered within the relationship. I think both partners need to be able to voice their opinion. And I don't know, we've always kind of just gone by the rule of thumb. Either it's either a hell yes for both of us or it's a no. And we haven't been perfect at it.
No.
But we don't make big financial decisions. Few small financial decisions without consulting with the other one first.
Yeah. And sometimes one of the areas where we have kind of, dropped the ball is either you or I, and typically it's you are worried about offending me because I've made a decision, especially where our business is concerned. And we've talked about this, and we've talked about it on the podcast, where in an effort to not like hurt my ego, you've let me make a decision that you didn't feel 100% good on, and you didn't share that with me. And so that's one of the areas, but that's also my responsibility, because like the truth is, every time one of those things has happened, there's been something inside of me that knew you weren't 100% in, but I got your verbal in. And so rather than diving deeper into it, and that's one area where we're growing. And I think we've grown a lot. Like just today, our meeting today that we had, like we're getting even closer together, even more on the same page.
But I'd have to say that if I gave you the verbal yes, that can't be on you. That's on me. If I said yes, then I gave you my yes,
Right.
So,
yeah. Anyway. Okay. So what else from the yoga of relationship, a purposeful relationship, what else should we be covering?
I feel like we've covered the gist of it, that the purpose of the relationship is really one of attaining enlightenment. And that may be a term that a lot of people don't fully understand. There's this spiritual, connotation to that word. But ultimately all that word means is reaching this highest version of yourself and overcoming suffering. That's really all it means. And we are full believers. Like our background, we talk about yoga a lot on this podcast, and we will, because the philosophy of yoga, it's not about just the asana, just the poses. It's not about an exercise to keep you in shape, though it definitely does that. The philosophy of yoga is so much more broad than that, so much more ancient. The ancient tradition of yoga really had nothing
Especially
to
of
do.
tantric yoga that the lineage that we study under.
But yeah, it really had nothing to do with poses in the beginning.
Right.
It was the ancient tradition of yoga was a textbook on achieving enlightenment. It was literally a textbook to living a happy life. The Yoga Sutras are all about overcoming suffering at the end of the day. So it's a really in-depth philosophy and way of life that we've gotten a lot of value from and have decided to embrace. And that's why I had that
in a Western world.
In a Western world. And that's ultimately, why I came to Brad and said, hey, it's going to be very difficult if you don't decide to come on this journey with me. Because when I first started studying it, I started recognizing all the value and how valuable it was, and how really it was just a way of life. And I know that mine and Brad's relationship has always been a huge priority to me. And I couldn't see how it could continue to deepen if we weren't on the same page where this was concerned, because it was becoming such a big piece of my life. And
but the beauty, like I said, it was never like this ultimatum. Hey, you better do this or else.
No.
Because you gave me my free will. You gave me, hey, you have options here. It's okay.
But here's what it looks like. Here's what I see. Here's what the risk is if you choose this, but ultimately, but we can make it work. Yeah. We'll keep doing our best. I don't know what it looks like, but this is what I see happening. And you are graceful too. It's not like he went and signed up for a yoga class right away, but he started listening to me more. He started just showing a little more interest in what this was. And the truth is, he was dealing with some spiritual trauma himself. And so we were having to overcome that. A lot of people call it spiritual abuse that can come from really overpowering religions, which is definitely what he was dealing with. So it took a little bit for him to come around. And now we're actually taking a yoga teacher training together with another couple, a yoga couple, which we've talked a lot about. We do talk a lot about. They have a lot of wisdom, and they've been really powerful for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and we want to share our, not just our experience with them, but our combined, because we have a lot of different experiences.
Yeah, well, our
journey's unique.
Completely different. They have no kids.
First marriage.
This is their first marriage. They're a lot younger than we are. At least I think they're a lot younger than
Matt's 34. I think, I don't know how old Ash is, 34, 35?
6 years younger than me.
Yeah, he's younger. He's young.
But we just see so much value in this, and mixed with everything that we've been through, our life experiences, and we do take a lot of, I don't know that pride's the right word.
It's courage.
We've overcome a lot, we've learned a lot, and we're passionate about sharing what we've learned, because there are so many relationships out there that are suffering, so many blended families that are suffering, that want to make it work, that, want that deep connection with their loved ones and want that deep connection within their family. And we want to let them know that it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. And there are there are tools, there are resources available to you, and we want to be a resource for you. You can reach out to us on any one of our social media. While we don't have a program that we're releasing today, we will have different opportunities to interact a little more with us in mentorship and taking a lot that we've learned from our yoga study, from our own business study, from our own personal development journey, bringing them all together into what will hopefully be steps and strategies to have a successful blended family, a family that trust is the foundation, where love and joy and happiness are the natural result of key activities, but also, like, you're still gonna have struggles.
Yeah,
you're guaranteed to have struggles still, because this is fucking hard.
Well, but
it's great.
Life is all about the struggle. That's where you learn. That's where the good stuff is. And so the expectation is not to not have struggles. The struggles are not optional, but suffering is.
Yes, the struggle is not optional. It's the suffering that you get to choose.
Yeah.
Love it. How'd we do?
I think we did great.
Do you? I love being able to talk about our relationship and bringing it into what we're learning, what we're working on. And guys, this is real life for us. This is how we're going through it right now. And it's not all sunshine and roses. Like I disclosed, we're going through our own struggles financially. We're going through our own struggles and building our business. We're fighting the battles too. We deal with, getting on the same page with our kids, figuring out how to discipline them.
Our relationship still isn't without struggle.
Yeah.
We disclosed, today, something that we went through. And so perfectionism is not the expectation. That's not the goal. It's getting through all of that with peace, love, joy, and happiness.
Yeah. Dancing with the struggle.
Yeah.
And enjoying it along the way. I love you.
I love you too.
I don't care if anybody else listens to this. I love this. Hope you guys enjoy it if you do listen to it.
All right.
See you soon, guys.
See ya.